Hey, Rob from Morty 42 here, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. I mean, look, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how this came about, but what I was doing was I guess it was some Twitter feed or something that was talking about these movies on Rotten Tomatoes that people actually liked that got really bad reviews. So I was like, okay, well let me look and see which ones that I like that were badly reviewed, and there's quite a few of them. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. So yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, it's a thing, right? And a lot of people will say, well, why would you ever care about what other critics think about a movie that you like? It's not about that. Like for me, I use Rotten Tomatoes as just a guidepost, and it's always it's never what the critic gives it like a yay or a nay. It's more about, do the critics have something worthwhile to say, and is it something that, you know maybe I should read it and kind of find out what they think about it. Look, it's one of those things where if you like a movie and nobody else does, who cares? You like the movie. That should be all that's important, right? I will also say that I'm never going to argue that any of these movies that are on my list here are masterpieces. Okay? Except for one, maybe. But anyway, the all I'm saying is that these are movies that I found really interesting. That there was such a difference in what most of the critics thought and what I thought. So yeah, the first movie, yeah, Speed Racer. I've argued for this movie for years and years. Okay, for me, Speed Racer is a masterpiece. It is an amazing, amazing movie. I mean, not just technically, but I think the storytelling is good. I think the acting is good. I love everything about this movie, and I have seen it multiple times. I mean, April will tell you. I've watched it so many times, it's ridiculous. And yeah, where's the 4K? This is a movie that screams 4K. Now, a lot of the critics, I remember when this movie came out, and people, a lot of critics were like, it's so loud, it's so obnoxious, it's so busy, that I can't even get into the story. But for me, it's technically just fantastic. And especially the layering, in the style of the original Speed Racer cartoon, which I will say, I was never that big of a fan of the original cartoon. But I think everything in this movie is fantastic. I think Emil Hirsch, I mean, he's gotten into some trouble over the years, but I will say I really enjoyed him as Speed. In fact, his performance is so good that he makes me believe it. He's playing, everybody in this movie is playing it all the way serious. There's not a goofy, campy performance in the thing until you get to some of the characters that are meant to be campy. Okay. But like Matthew Fox as Racer X, fantastic. And I've been a Matthew Fox fan for a long time, right? I loved Lost. And when I heard that he was going to be in this movie, I saw him and I'm like, I'm totally down for this. I'm really kind of excited. But yeah, this is what the critics thought. 41%. 41%. A rotten movie. All of these movies are verified as rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, but I just don't understand it. I think this movie's great. I love it. And I've seen it so many times. It's actually, like I said, it may be a little embarrassing. Next up, we have Legend. And this is a movie that, as a 9-year-old kid when this movie came out, yes, I'm an old guy, okay? But I love this movie. I love everything about it. I love Tom Cruise. Mia Sara, right, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, before Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Tim Curry as Darkness. I mean, come on. The makeup is absolutely ridiculous. The set design, the way that it's shot, it's got that very dreamy look. You've got the unicorns and the trolls and it's it's a great movie. I love it. And as a fan of mid 80s fantasy, I would say that this is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite, of that kind of style. You had Crawl and I can't even think of anymore. But I always think of Crawl for some reason in this kind of genre. And yeah, The critics hated it. 38%. And I'm like, why? Why is this movie? I love Legend, and I will defend Legend forever. I think both of these, actually, Speed Racer and Legend, I think they could be considered classics. I mean, I'm just saying it. This next movie, granted, it's probably a guilty pleasure. Okay, it's not a very good movie. It's not even a very good Bond movie, but there are things about it that I like. And I mean, yeah, this is Roger Moore's last outing as Bond. You have Tanya Roberts as the Bond girl. You've got Grace Jones in it. You've got Christopher Walken in it. I mean, I love it. I love the movie like unapologetically. In fact, pretty much every Bond movie I could probably say that I love at least pieces of it. And I've always been a big fan of the James Bond series, but yeah, down to 37% on this one. I mean, come on. I mean, I get it. I guess. I guess if you're grading it just on its own as just a movie, take all the fandom around James Bond, just take it away. Yeah, it's probably not that great of a movie, but I like it. So this one I can understand if a lot of people don't know what this one is right off the bat. I mean, most of these, you've probably heard of, but this one's one of the weirder ones. This one's came out in 2012, and it wasn't a huge release. It wasn't something that just was all over theaters and all that kind of thing. But I enjoy it nonetheless. This is Emperor, okay? You've got Matthew Fox and Tommy Lee Jones in it. I mean, I was already like, okay, I'm interested. I'm a Matthew Fox fan. Of course, I want to watch it. But the story is, as the Japanese surrender at the end of World War II, General Fellers, Matthew Fox, is tasked with deciding if Emperor Hirohito will be hanged as a war criminal. Influencing his ruling is his quest to find Aya, an exchange student he met years earlier in the U.S. Tommy Lee Jones plays Douglas MacArthur. I think it's a great movie. I really, really enjoyed it. This is a movie I do not own, but I really, really enjoyed it and was really, really surprised when I saw that a lot of critics hated it. 32%. I don't understand. It's like I watched a different movie than they did. I don't understand it. But I will say, yeah, I think this was a good movie. And you know what? I've actually started my search. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to find it and buy it. Now this one I just don't understand. I don't. I mean, I think a lot of people my age, they remember this movie fondly. Early 90s Spielberg, Hook, right? You've got Robin Williams as Peter Pan, Dustin Hoffman, Captain Hook, Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell, Bob Hoskins, I'm sorry, as Smee, Maggie Smith as Granny Wendy. You've even got an early performance from Gwyneth Paltrow as young Wendy, Dante Bosco as Rufio. I mean, come on. How many people do you know? Rufio. Come on. This movie's great. And yet, 29%. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. I love Hook. I unapologetically love Hook. And maybe it's because what I mostly remember is like the last half of the movie. I think the first half is where it loses people, because it's older Peter in the real world and he's dealing with, he's a businessman and all this stuff. I mean, I guess, but I'm telling you, this movie's great, and I don't understand the hate for it from a critic's point of view. I mean, look at the audience score. The audience score definitely like this movie a lot better than the critics, but it's just one of those that I just don't understand. Why? And here's another one. Here's another one from Ridley Scott. And yeah, I will unapologetically love this movie almost just because it's Ridley Scott. But it just so happens it's a really fun movie. I really enjoyed this one. And you've got Russell Crowe in a romantic sort of almost coming of age story, right? It's a man who, it's kind of strange if you think about it. It's very similar to Hook. He's a businessman and whatever, and then what he does is he comes to find that maybe life isn't all about money. Maybe life isn't all about acquiring things and all this stuff. I enjoyed this movie. Okay, I really did, and I gotta say, Ridley Scott as a director, and just I love the way that he frames things. I mean, his location people are excellent, like uniformly just excellent. They they find the most beautiful shots. I love this movie. you know. And this is even probably, I think, the first time that I'd ever seen Marion Cotillard, and her performance, it just makes you fall in love with that character. You know, you just really really care about her. And I don't know, I don't understand it. Albert Finney, great movie. I really enjoyed it. Why did this only get 25%? I don't understand it. There's probably going to be people that might say, you know what, I'll give this movie a shot, and then they'll go, yeah, I didn't like it. I loved it. I loved it, and it's actually, I think this is the first movie that Abby Cornish is in. Abby Cornish came onto my radar because of this movie. Now she hasn't gone on to do amazing things, but she's been really really good in a few things. So I don't know. I like this movie. I mean, I guess I understand. Maybe it's slow to people, but I really enjoyed it. So this one, I don't understand. I love this movie. I think it's hilarious. I mean, come on. There's so many Bumblebee tuna, you know, the rhino birthing scene. There's so many great things about this movie. Come on. It's so so good. And I love Jim Carrey. I do. I everything pretty much everything he's been in. I've enjoyed it. So yeah, when I heard that this movie was on that list of really popular movies that the critics didn't like, I was really kind of surprised. I even have a pretty funny story, right? My little brother, okay, he's not so little anymore, but back in the day, you know, I was watching him one day. You know, my parents were off doing something, and I turn on Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, and we sit there and we laugh and we have a great time. We're doing the you know, the whole I remember the part that he really loved was with the alligators or the crocodiles there. And he's like, "Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?" All that. It's funny, right? So anyway, I go off to work. I, you know, move on, right? Totally forget that I probably showed him a movie that he was too young to see at the time. So he's taking his bath, you know? My stepmom's in bed reading a book, right? He jumps out of the bath and jumps on the bed, and she doesn't know, and she puts her book down, and all she can see is him talking out of his butt. Now I will tell you this. I mean, not exactly something I want to see, but I kind of wish I could have seen her face, you know, when that happened. Come on, that's hilarious. I love it. I love it. And of course, she got on to me, but in a joking kind of way. I mean, how mad can you be? How angry could you be at a kid doing something so funny, right? I love this movie, and I don't care. I don't care that the critics only gave it a 25%. Come on. Movie's better than a 25%. And look at that audience score, right? So yeah, that's just a few movies that, like I said, I love these movies, and I don't care. I don't care that the critics don't like them. I don't even care if you like them. I enjoy them, right? And I'll tell you right now, Emperor and A Good Year, I don't own those, but I will. In fact, I've looked for A Good Year a few times. The only place that it's available in Blu-ray is in Europe. Apparently, American audiences didn't like this movie, but I really really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm kind of curious about you guys. What movies do you love, or do you even like, that the critics hated? Let me know down below. Let's have a discussion about it. I mean, this is fun. It's fun talking about that kind of stuff. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.